Here's more wrestling news for May 10th, 2023, and we're kicking off with Alexa Bliss, who since January of this year has been absent from WWE programming, and the last fans saw of her, she was losing to Bianca Belair at the Royal Rumble. During the recent WWE draft, Bliss wasn't eligible for either Night 1 or Night 2, but now we have a major update on her future on TV. In a graphic from the USA Network, the entire Raw Women's division was featured as possible opponents for Rhea Ripley, and that image included Bliss. While not confirmed by WWE, it certainly looks like Bliss will be appearing on Raw moving forward, which also means that Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy are expected on the red brand as well. After her match with Belair in January, Bliss had a bizarre segment with Howdy, and WWE has plans to continue the program between Bliss, Howdy, and Wyatt once Bray is fully healed. If Bliss is indeed a Raw superstar, that means fans can expect Bray and the demented Uncle Howdy on the red brand as well, but as for when they'll be on TV, still remains to be seen. During this week's Raw, Cody Rhodes competed in one of the quarterfinal matches in the World Heavyweight Championship tournament and probably would have advanced if not for Brock Lesnar. As Rhodes went for the pin on The Miz, he was attacked by the Beast to the shock of the live crowd. And how exactly did WWE keep the 6'3", 286-pound Lesnar a secret? Fightful Select reports that Lesnar was in disguise along with two other large stagehands at ringside that made Brock look smaller in comparison and therefore less noticeable. The report adds that stagehands pushed a trunk ringside in order to hide Lesnar, but it's unclear if this was just a way of obscuring fans from seeing Brock or if he was actually in the trunk itself. Whatever the case, Fightful's report went on to state that WWE was heavily piping in audio for the Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes segment, and the feeling backstage was that this piping in of audio was entirely unnecessary. Given that Lesnar challenged Cody to a fight at Night of Champions, and Rhodes said that they will indeed fight in Jeddah, it has been speculated that a stipulation match is coming. And are you excited to see the two face off again? Sound off in the comments below. When you see Brock Lesnar on TV, it's clear that the former Universal Champion is a physical specimen, though some suspect that his physique is artificially enhanced. After a one-night return to UFC in 2016, Lesnar failed a drug test, and while he was forced to pay a $250,000 fine by UFC, he received no punishment by WWE. Typically, a superstar failing a drug test is subject to at least 30 days of suspension, which wouldn't have been too bad for the Beast, who often misses months of TV. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer explained that the drug tests, at least outside of WWE, don't apply to Lesnar, who is afforded a very special privilege by the company. Had WWE filed Lesnar's drug test, then those states that still have the Wrestling Commission would not have allowed Brock to compete, but since WWE don't count the test, Lesnar remains free to wrestle wherever he pleases. If Brock ever competes in MMA, then this failed drug test may prove to be an issue, but as far as WWE is concerned, the Beast testing positive in 2016 simply never happened. More from Raw now as Becky Lynch made her return to TV this week by attacking Trish Stratus, but the beatdown on the WWE Hall of Famer hasn't been the most notable part of her return. During her comeback, Lynch began cutting a promo, which was abruptly cut off, and we now know what exactly happened. In a report from Fightful Select, it is revealed that Lynch's mic being cut wasn't part of the plan, and that she still had more to say that didn't make it to the broadcast. With that said, it was also noted that what Lynch was going to say wasn't going to be substantial, and with this feud due to continue for some time, there'll be plenty of time to come for these comments to be said on air. In a video shared on Lynch's Instagram account, the man can be seen confronting the person who cut off her mic and laid the unfortunate soul out with a single punch. Of course, this video was all in good fun, and while we will likely never know exactly why Lynch's mic was cut, expect what she was going to say to be recycled on a future episode of Raw. If you were watching WWE in the Ruthless Aggression era, you may remember Mark Jindrak, who was around for a couple of years before his release in 2005. Once considered as a prospective member for Evolution before being replaced by Batista, Jindrak would later work for AAA and CMLL, but is now feeling the itch to get back in the ring. During an appearance on Developmentally Speaking, Jindrak spoke about making a comeback over 5 years after his most recent match, and said, Lately, I've been getting into good shape again, so I feel like a resurgence. I kinda have an itch to take some more wrestling shows, but maybe that could see me wrestling more in the United States, I don't know. That's the one thing I look back on and I have a little bit of regret. I wish I would have maybe cut Mexico a little earlier and come back and did some stuff in the United States. I think there's still a chapter to write, honestly. Jindrak's career began back in 1999 as part of the WCW power plant, so he has decades of experience in the ring. And time will tell if he ever wrestles again, and if his return possibly comes in a WWE ring. One name fans can see each week in WWE is Gigi Dolin, as the multi-time NXT Women's Tag Team Champion has become a staple of the Gold brand. Most recently, Dolin has been feuding with her former Toxic Attraction ally Jacy Jayne, but Dolin is looking at making a major change. On an Instagram story, Dolin wrote that, "I miss being PK," which fans immediately recognized as a nod to her pre-WWE name of Priscilla Kelly. It's rare that WWE allows any superstar of any roster to reference their pre-WWE name, and this is especially notable given that Dolin used the Kelly name when she competed for AEW. Given that Dolin was able to reference her time as Priscilla Kelly, some fans are of the opinion that a name change is coming, and that WWE has already approved her request for the change. As for Dolin's more immediate future, she was eliminated from the NXT Women's Championship tournament this week, but we'll have to see if a name change is in store for the woman once known as Priscilla Kelly. Over to AEW, as this month has seen the end of both Dark and Dark Elevation, as a condition of AEW getting a third weekly show from Warner Media is that all AEW content will be aired on their networks. The two now defunct YouTube shows were used for AEW talent who management felt were not quite ready for TV, meaning that there will be a lot of names on the roster getting used even less than before. Speaking on a recent episode of his podcast, Jim Cornette lambasted the management of Tony Khan, as he believes the AEW president simply lacks the fortitude to fire someone. He explained, "It's not like these were fully formed television shows with interviews and angles and ready to go out. It's just meaningless matches with their underneath talent that Tony amassed and has never had the balls to give notice to, cut contracts, cut costs, whatever, for people he's been paying for years." One of the biggest criticisms of AEW has been that the company has too big a roster, and that notable signings such as Keith Lee, Jay White, and others quickly slip down the card, or in the case of Miro, stop getting used altogether. In the past, Tony Khan has preferred to let contracts expire rather than release people like WWE, but does that mean that some names get paid for doing nothing for months at a time? And do you think Cornette is right? Let us know in the comments. Later this year, WWE will make a trip to London for its Money in the Bank Premium Live event, the first time that the popular show has ever been held outside of the United States. As usual, the show will be headlined by the two titular ladder matches, but reports of winners being confirmed are proving to be premature. Earlier this year, it was reported that LA Knight is the favorite to win the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, and though this could happen in theory, WWE has made no plans at this time. When Ringside News reached out to ask about the planning status for Money in the Bank, a source told them that even if the winners have been decided by now, there's no guarantee that plans will change between now and July 1st. That source went on to say that there is plenty of time for someone to influence the direction from a variety of different angles, and while the source didn't state who, it would likely be referring to Vince McMahon. Money in the Bank is up there with the Royal Rumble as one of the most exciting nights of the year, and who do you hope to see leave London with the men's and women's briefcases? And we're ending today with Raw, as fans saw The Way reunite, with every member except Austin Theory being drafted to the Red brand. During the segment, Johnny Gargano made a reference that he is coming back, to which Candice LeRae replied that she's not sure if that's a good idea, and we may now know who he is, and it isn't Theory. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer made note that he could be Tommaso Ciampa, who has been out for months following surgery over a hip injury. Ciampa and Gargano have certainly had plenty of history together dating back to even before their NXT days, but given that the pair have often been hostile, it makes sense that LeRae would be cautious. The last we saw of Ciampa on WWE TV, he was aligned with The Miz, and it'll be interesting to see what sort of Ciampa we see if the Blackheart is indeed the he who The Way discussed this week.